In this video, we're going to take a look at how to create a table in HTML, and it's actually very simple. We're going to use like 4 basic table tags to be able to do that, okay, or to just simply 4 tags to be able to create a table. The first one is just the table, which is a tag that we use to tell the document that we're actually working on a table, okay. And then after that, we have something like tr, which is table row, and it's actually a tag that we use to actually kind of enclose other tags or other elements that we may add as we move along, okay. So, and that tr, which is table row, we are going to have something like table header within it, and table header is just the head of every column, or the head of every column that you are going to be creating as you work with your table. And after that, we have td, which is table data, which is basically the element that you are kind of put under every single heading that is actually in your table. Okay, so really very simple. We just are basically going to combine these 4 tags, and then we can be able to build a table that looks just like this. And it's actually very simple. So let's get into our computer and then build that right away.
All right, so to create a table right now, we are basically going to need to have our HTML boilerplate pulled up to be able to do that. So that what I'm going to do now is to just paste the one that I have in here, which is really very simple. You can pause the video and then type them out because it's not actually hard. We've seen this quite a lot of times before. Okay, and then we can actually go ahead and then save it. So if I click on file and then say save as, so I need to go to the desktop, go to HTML and CSS folder, which is the folder we'll be working. Saving all our files too. So I'm going to kind of delete what is in here and just say tables.html. Okay, so that is just the name right there, tables.html, and we can go ahead and click on save. And the way that it is right now, we do not actually have anything, because if you go to that particular folder right now and then try to open up tables, you see that we've got nothing in the browser. Okay, but we can just add things within the body, and that is basically going to be the table. But before I do that, I want to like add the title right here. So I'm going to have a title. So this is going to be title right there, and let's call this HTML table. And we can go ahead and then close the title tag right there. So this is going to be title, and we'll have that closed. So if we save this and then check that on the browser, I should be able to see the title up here. So let me refresh, and there is our title. Right after that, we need to just work on the body, which basically means that we need to start creating the table right now. And just like we say that creating a table, we need to start that off with table tags. So I'm going to just say table, table right there, and we can go ahead and close that down here. So this is going to be table for the table tag. Okay, and the way that it is right now, if you check that on the browser, still will not be able to see anything in the browser, because we need to add a couple of other things, which the first one that we need to add right now is going to be the table header. The table row. First of all, we need to like capture the table row before we can work on the table header, which I'm going to do that right now. This is going to be tr to grab onto the table row, and I'm going to structure it this way because I'm going to go ahead and add the table headings within that particular place. So this is going to be tr, meaning that this has been closed right there. Okay, so within this particular table row, we can go ahead to begin to create our table heading. Okay, so I'm going to just say th, because to create a table header you use th. This is table row and this is table header. Okay, and then for instance, let's say that we're going to have things like a first name. People say first names within this particular place, and we can go ahead and then close that particular table header right there. And with that, it means that we have a row or a column that actually has first names. Okay, meaning that people are going to have to put their first names within this particular place, or we are basically going to put people's first names right in there. So I want to copy that and then paste that maybe 2 more times, and I want to change the second line right there to last name, and then the last thing in here, let's do something like we're going to put people's age right there. Okay, so this is just basically what it is right now. You need to know that this particular table header right here that we have in here, we're going to like create corresponding table data for them. If we save this the way that it is right now, and then we check the browser, you notice that we do have the table displayed. Okay, and then we'll have our first name, we'll have the last name right there, and then we'll have the age. Okay, but they do not actually have something like table data, and table data, they are just like cells, okay, that are actually basically going to represent what these things actually mean. Okay, if my name is something like Adam Israel, so I'm going to have Adam under first name and then have Israel under last name, and then I can go ahead and then enter the age right there. So let's try to do that down here. And if we want to do that, we need to get out of the first row. So I'm going to create a new row right here, TR, and I want to close that immediately. So this is going to be TR, and then within this we need to create the table data, which we can actually do that with something that is actually called a TD. Okay, TD means table data, and let's say that this person's first name is going to be Eze, and we have Eze right there, and we can go ahead and then close that table data right there with TD. Okay, so it means that we've entered the person's first name. So what about the person's last name right there, and then the age? We need to do that within table header again. So this is Eze Judith. Let's say that is the person's last name, and we can go ahead and then grab onto his age right there. So let's say that this person is actually 17 years. So this is going to be 17, and we can go ahead and then save this. And if we check our browser right now and we refresh, you see that actually comes in. So the person's first name is under first name, his last name is under last name right there. This is Judith, and then the age is right there. You see how that actually works, and I believe that that's actually pretty simple. So we can actually duplicate this result that we're having here. Okay, we can duplicate it and then have some more results if we want to actually have that. And doing that is really very cool. What you need to do is to just copy this particular table row. So I'm going to copy this right now and then paste it maybe 2 more times, 1, 2, and we'll need to like alter the results that we have here. So let's say this person is going to be Chito David, and let's say that his age is actually 29 at the moment. So this is going to be 29, and then we need to change this. Let's say that this person is actually going to answer James, let's say Smith. Okay, and let's say that his age is 39. All right, so if we save this, you see that we have 2 more lines added to the previous. Okay, we have this right now within our page. Okay, and you may be wondering why do we basically have these tables that we do not actually have lines that is actually dividing that, trying to show that it's actually a real table. Okay, and that is something that you can actually do with the help of a CSS. Okay, you can use something like CSS to be able to do that. It's really not hard to do that. In fact, we're going to kind of add it as we move along. All right, so before we basically kind of add the lines or the what is it called, the borders to that particular table, I like to just like let you know that this table data that we're having here, that is just basically a way of being able to add data to your tables. Okay, and then this particular TD right now can contain other things, other types of elements. Like you can still put another table within this particular TD. You can put image, you can put list, you can put form, so you can even put a video if you want within this tables that we're having here. Okay, so and that's just what I want to kind of explain to you on that particular, and that is why it is actually called an element that it kind of serves as containers. Okay, so it can actually contain all sorts of HTML elements. Okay, so without wasting more time, for us to add something like a border to that, we need to do that like a CSS, and I want to do that at the top right here. Remember when we worked on something like our internal CSS, so I want to just put something like star right here, and down here I want to close that style in there, and we can write a couple of CSS lines right here, which is pretty simple. So we can just do something like table. We can if we go ahead and style this right now, let me do this first of all. So let's say that this is basically going to, so within this place right now, let's say that we want to give this a border, because those lines that we normally see in tables actually called the borders. So to give this a border right now, we're going to just say border, and we can go ahead and then just say something. Let's say this is going to be 1 pixel, and let's say the type of border is going to be solid, and we can just specify the color. Okay, so in our own case, I'm going to just do #00 right there, meaning that it's actually black. Okay, so if we go back to our browser and then we refresh right now, you see that we have a line that it kind of goes around the table. So this is the position that the table tag itself actually goes through. Okay, so if you want to divide other part or add other columns to some other parts, that should be actually coming from the table head and then that of the table data if you want that. So to do it is really pretty simple. So we can do that down here, and not really down here, guys. So we can introduce a comma here. We can basically copy this line and duplicate it, do it a couple more times. In fact, that's what I'm going to do right now, but I'm going to shorten it as we move along. So I'm going to copy and paste this, and let's say we want to work on that of the table header. We want the table header. Let me show you the browser again. This part, we want it to have like those lines. If we want it to have it right now, here is what we need to do. So we need to just basically change this from table to something like th, which is the tag name. And if we save this right now and we'll go back to the browser and then refresh, and you see that there are lines that are actually running around that of the table header. So the same thing is what you can do for that of the table data. So we can change this to something like TD, save that, and if you check the browser, you see that other ones also have that right now. Okay, however, instead of writing it in up to 3 different lines like this, we can actually take only these selectors that we have in here and then put that up there. Okay, so I'm going to delete all of this right here, and of course if we save and then refresh, you see that the style is actually gone for that of the table header and table data. But then I want to bring that back right now by introducing a comma right here, and I can say something like th, introduce another comma, and then say td. And then if I save that, you see that we now have just a single line for all of the styles that we have written. We used like multiple lines to be able to do this before, but now we're using just a single line to do that. Then if we refresh, you see that the style kind of come back. You see how pretty that is. All right, so and I know that quite a good number of you may be asking, why are the tables that, why do we have like double borders within the tables? This is actually the default if you add borders to a table. But if you want to take that away, if you want it to have something like a single border, you can also do that, and you can use something like a border collapse to be able to do that. In fact, let's experiment with that right now. So if we get in here, we can add another property that is actually called a border dash collapse right there, and we can go ahead and set this to collapse. So this is collapse, and then if we save this right now, you're going to see that it's going to take away double lines and then make it single lines. So this is how the table is actually looking right now, guys. Pretty cool, right? All right, so I want us to like take this further into adding something like cell padding. And before I actually go ahead to add the cell padding, I don't know if you guys are actually seeing this very well, but if you want to expand this, if you want it to take like 100% of your web page, you can actually do that within, you can either do it here or you can do it within the HTML part of it. So I'm going to do something like an inline CSS right here. Okay, so I'm going to just say style, and we can set that to be equal to, and that has to do with the width of that particular table. So we're going to just say width, and then we can go ahead and just set that something like 100% of the web page. We can do 80%, you can do 90%, whatever you want to do. Okay, so I want to set that to 100% right now, and then refresh, and then you see that the table kind of increased to this level that it is right now. Okay, so if it is something that you want to do, you can actually do that. And after that, you see that we can if you take a look at the table headers right here, you see that they are by default centered to the web page or to the columns where they belong, and those other ones are actually put in a place where they are just like left aligned to the screen, okay, or to the columns where they belong. We can actually change all these things. In fact, I want to start off with adding something like a cell padding. And if you don't know what padding is just spaces around an element. So if you want to add elements, spaces around these first names and then the last names, you can actually do that. It's really very simple to do, and to do it is really very simple. All we need to do is just maybe target the table header and that of the table data to do that. So if we go back to our browser, we can do that down here. Someone just say table header, comma, then say table data, and we can, within this particular place right now, we can do this by, if we say something like padding, someone just say padding right there, and we can go ahead and let's set the padding to whatever number that we want. Let's say, for instance, we're going to set it to something like 17 pixels, which means that we're going to have like 17 pixels spaces around the element that we're having here. Okay, so I want to refresh and see how that is actually working. Okay, so it kind of adds some spaces all around, both left, top, right, and that of the bottom. Okay, which is basically cool for some tables that actually needs to actually look neat. All right, so that is just what that is. Other things that we can actually do, if we want to like bring this back to the left, we can actually do that. We can do that by a kind of aligning the text either to the left or to the right. Okay, so this is just like table headers. If you want to like align that to the left right now, you can do that. If you get down here, you can just do something like th, and we can, within this particular place, we can just say text align. So if I do text align, and we can set that to the center of the web page, not center really, it's actually aligned center by default. So let's basically kind of bring that to the left of the web page, and it's going to be like almost on the same line with this table data that we have in here, or table headers. So I'm going to refresh right now. You see that it brings that back to left align. Okay, and they are all now on the same line with what is underneath right there. All right, so I just want to add a little bit of a style into the table header right here, and if we want to do that, it's actually very simple. We can do that maybe within this particular place. I want to use this opportunity to just set the background of that particular place, maybe to something like black. It can be navy, it can be anything you want. So it's going to be black, and I'm going to change the color of the text that is in there to something like white. Okay, so this is going to be white, and if we save and then refresh the web page, you're going to see that the table header right there, it's actually going to have that which we got right there. Okay, so that is just how to change the color of the header right there. So if you want to change the rows, you can also do that. It's possible. That's not what I want to do in this video. Okay, so that's just basically what that is. So, and I think that you guys are kind of following. So the next thing I want to do right now is that I want to create a new table, a table that actually kind of spans many rows. So I want to copy the previous table we're having here and then paste it down there. And what I want to do to the first table is that I want to comment that out. So I want to comment out the first table that we're having here. I'm going to just do dot and then go to the beginning of that table right here and then do this is going to be this exclamation dot dash dash to be able to comment the first table out. Okay, and if I save and refresh, it's going to look like it's still the same table that is in there, you know, right? So there won't be any changes because the table that I copied down there is just exactly the same. So just I'm going to just like modify this particular new table right now, and what I'm going to do with the table is that I want to change this from what it is right now. Instead of having something like first name, I just want to have something like name in there. Okay, and after that I want to have something else. Okay, so we have that in there right now. We have a row in here and we have name, and the next thing that I want to have right now is if we go in here, we can just directly put something like a table data within this place. So I'm going to take this away. This is going to be td and td, and then we can go ahead and then put someone's name within this particular place. So let's say that this is going to be code Kinder. Let's say that that's someone's name, and what we want to do within that particular place is that we want to go ahead and then we'll have his name in there right there. So the next thing we want to do within a different row is to go ahead and then see how we can actually span two or more rows. Okay, wait, let's say that this person has like 2 phone numbers. We want to see how we can actually span that towards 2 or 3 rows. Okay, so to do that is really very simple. What I'm going to do right now is that I need to change what is in here right now to a table header again, and change this to table header. And let's say that these two things that we have in here is actually going to be positions for that of the phone numbers. Okay, but then I want to like add the header right here, which is going to be something like telephone. So let's call that telephone, and if we have that right now, I want to like put phone numbers in here for the person. Okay, so let's say that this is going to be 07047164748, which is actually my own phone number right there. Okay, and then I want to put another phone number in here. All right, so that is just basically what that is. I think I just basically need to like delete I think we are basically wrong with putting the second phone number in here. So what I'm going to do right now is just cut this particular phone number in here. I want to cut that away and then go ahead and then put it on a new table row, which I'm going to just kind of do right here. So let's just take all of the things that we have in here away and then paste that particular table row. And then for this, we do not actually need this anymore. Or let's see if we want to have like 3 phone numbers. All right, so I want to save this right now, and then if we go to the browser and then refresh, and okay, so that doesn't actually look the way that I would want it to actually be. So let's correct what the error could be actually. Okay, and it could be basically, let's take away the styling for that of the I want to take away the styling right here. Let me bring that back and just comment it out in case you are going to need it. Someone will just comment this. I just want to have that commented out. I don't want the styling right here to be just a kind of a coming in. So we have name in here, and we'll have code Kinder for the name, and then we'll have phone number. So I expect this particular field to be located right here. Okay, and then this line to go away. So that's what it means to span 2 colons. So let's find out why that error is actually there. So if I scroll down to that particular place, we'll have a row here, and we'll have another row here, and here we are creating another row. All right, so I think that's actually correct, but we really needed to put something like an attribute here, which is actually called a row span. Okay, so I'm gonna just say row span, and how many rows do we basically want it to span? I want it to span like 2, so I'm going to just enter 2 right here and then save. Then if we go back and refresh, and you notice that it's a kind of a span. Okay, so this is telephone, and we'll have phone numbers for them. So this is the first phone number, and this is the second phone number right there. And I think that my phone number is actually not correct, because I know that a few of you may like to just chat me up. So let me change that. So this is going to be 07047164748. All right, so this is just basically how that is actually looking right now. That's how to span 2 colons. If you want to span like 3, you can actually do that. It's really very simple. In fact, I give that as an assignment for you to do right now. If I want you to like have maybe a third phone number right here, you can span through 3 colons right there. All right, so that is just that, guys. So I want to extend this comment right here. So I'm going to cut this and then get to the ending tag right here and then paste that again. Okay, so which means that if I save and then refresh the web page, I wouldn't be able to see any tables in the browser right there. Okay, so I just want to do one more thing, and what I want to basically do is just let me copy the first table and then put it down there. So this is the first table, right? So I want to kind of paste that down there. Okay, I want to paste it in here. And what I want to do basically with this right now, let me save this. And if I go to the browser and refresh, you see that the first table is kind of coming. But what I want to do is just add a caption to this table right here, which is really very simple to do. If you want to add a caption to a table, all you need to do is just use the caption tag to do that. And you do that within the table tag. So I'm going to do that right here. So I'll just say caption, and we can go ahead and then name the caption. Let's say that this is going to be let's say we could call these students names. So let's call that students. Basically, it can be anything, the name of the table itself, whatever that you are listing out of the table, you can actually give that as a caption name right there. Okay, so I'm going to just do that, save this, and then if I go back and you see that the table now has something like a label right there, okay, which is called the students names. Okay, so that's just basically what that is. And I basically want to, let me just go ahead and then comment the CSS for that table, which will comment that out before now. And I will just basically want this table to look a little bit beautiful, because I'm kind of going to stop this right now. All right, so this is how the table is actually looking so far. There are more to tables, okay? There are quite a few other things that I haven't actually touched, which you can actually go ahead and study that. You can go to W3 schools to do the rest of the things concerning tables, but I've actually touched the most important part of it, okay? So this is just like an example on how to work with tables, okay? So, and I really hope that you guys kind of understand what I did in the video. And if you like it, just give me a like. And if you have any questions, go ahead and then ask me any question within the comment section, and I will respond to you. And then I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now, guys.